Jack.
Levi.
The Book Club from Hell.
Hello everyone, this is Jack with the Book Club from Hell, an intergalactic organisation of footwear enthusiasts who have visited Earth to collect a bulk order of Nikes. Heaven's Gate holds the coveted title of the second-deadliest cult in the United States. In 1997, 39 of them put on Nike runners, took barbiturates, tied a plastic bag around their heads and died. Why did they do this? Led by Marshall Applewhite and Bonnie Nettles, a former teacher and nurse respectively, turned representatives of the evolutionary level above human, and vessels for astral travellers named Doe and T let them in on a little secret. The Hale-Bopp comet, at that time passing near Earth, was actually a spaceship of light sent by interdimensional beings to pick up the Earthlings smart enough to follow Doe and T's teachings. The students, as the cult members called themselves, had been living in isolation for 17 years, following Nettles and Applewhite's advice. 9 students were so dedicated to the cause that they allowed themselves to be surgically castrated so that they might be brought closer to the evolutionary level above human. So, want to learn more about a sci-fi suicide cult from the 1990s? Then listen on and enjoy. This will sound really stupid because I know we're talking about a suicide cult, but these are some particularly bad ideas, even by the standards of our podcast. These are some remarkably bad ideas. We should probably just say what Heaven's Gate was. Heaven's Gate was this American cult, like a cult led by initially 2 charismatic leaders, Bonnie Nettles and Marshall Applewhite, who went by the names T and Doe, respectively. I won't call it a Christian cult. They do fold Jesus
that's like
into
calling
things.
like the Nation of Islam an Islamic cult.
Yeah, exactly. They're Christian in the same way that the Nation of Islam is Islamic. Like they talk about some of the buzzwords. They talk about Jesus a lot, but I don't know if this is the sort of gospel that Jesus would have recognized. Especially the put on Nikes and kill yourself part.
Yeah.
They started around the 70s, and we should go over one of the documents they put out where they described from their perspective, their journey from being just your average Joes to being representatives of the evolutionary level above human. They started recruiting in the mid-70s, and then retreated for 17 years, just went monk mode, retreated, got themselves nice and brainwashed, and then in the 90s reappeared and went on a few more publicity tours, trying to get more people to sign up, but actually mostly trying to get the people who left during that 17-year period back into the fold. And then there was, which comet was it?
Hale-Bopp.
Hale-Bopp, yeah. The Hale-Bopp comet was coming around, and so they decided that was a spaceship
like
from the next level. And they, I think over a period of 4 days in some house, they drank barbiturates, tied a plastic bag over their heads, and died with Nikes on. And the Nikes were very important, but I haven't been able to find why the Nikes were important.
I bet you Nike's still like recovering from that brand.
Yeah, could
blow,
you guys not have fucking done that to our brand?
Jesus. Oh man,
that's one of those when you're working in public relations at these large companies. Do you think that's one of those black swan events that you never see coming? It's like no one's ever gonna. 39 people are not gonna kill themselves by tying plastic bags over their heads, wearing our shoes to catch a comet, which is actually a spaceship of light to take them to the evolutionary level above human. No one's gonna do that, so we don't need a contingency plan for this. Next minute. Heaven's Gate has done just that.
It's like what was that Wall Street Bets, you know? It's like some people make this mistake of thinking like in terms of standard distributions of things. So they'll think like some event is like a 6 Sigma event, you know, it's like 1 in a million or 1 in 10 million. And then there's just things that are just off axis. There's like, they're not Six Sigma. they're like, they're infinite Sigma. And, and people just don't think about them until it's like, oh, it turns out a subreddit has coordinated to like short squeeze us. Okay, we're fucked. Oh, okay, like a cult somewhere has like suffocated themselves to death and is giving us a shout out.
They shout out to Nikes. So looking at Marshall Applewhite, or Doe, as he preferred to go by, he didn't look like the most... I'm not going to say he wasn't stylish, but he didn't seem like he was that obsessed with what he was wearing. Maybe he was just all about shoes. I don't think I've seen pictures of his shoes. Maybe he just always wore Nikes. He was like, no, when I die, I want to be comfy. And because I'm the king here, everyone else has to wear them.
It's just really like, it's just very comfortable. Look, if you're gonna go to the next level, you need to be in some...
You want to be looking your best for the representatives of the next level, don't you?
Some fucking sick pumps, mate.
It's like showing up to a wedding wearing a t-shirt and track pants. When you're going to ascend to the evolutionary level above human, you want to be looking your best, so you wear your Nikes.
Yeah, and this is where is this literally where the saying drinking the Kool-Aid comes from?
No, that was Jim Jones.
Oh, that was Jim Jones. Okay, right. Because they had a nice mixture. But
Jim Jones was much more sinister than Heaven's Gate. So Heaven's Gate... Okay, so I feel bad for the people who got suckered into suffocating themselves wearing Nikes so that they could catch a comet to the next level. But that's only a loose paraphrase. I don't think I'm being dismissive when I phrase things in that way. But they didn't kill other people, whereas Jim Jones did do that. They shot some representative of the US government, I think, went down to their camp to see what was going on, and they killed him and the people with him. Jim Jones was much more sinister than these guys. These guys are... Like, it's still a suicide
These
cult.
Guys are loopy.
They're not normies.
They're loopy.
Still a suicide cult, but
they're not...
Not quite as bad as Jim Jones.
It's like so they've got the maliciousness of it or something versus stupidity.
These guys were just all about nofap. They really did not like sex. We'll go over their tenets of belief. One of the major ones is just no sex, no sexuality, none of that. Just become a sexless object. And that's how you ascend to the next level. Capital N, capital L. So anyway, yeah, suicide cult, they all killed themselves in 97. 39 of them. Let's get into the theology. So the two people leading the cult were Marshall Applewhite, Betty Nettles. Marshall Applewhite was a former teacher, I think. Betty Nettles was a nurse. And they met each other. I think they met in Texas.
She was into astrology and like new age shit.
Yeah, and she liked astrology. They met in Texas and hit it off. They were both married.
Did they have an affair?
I think Marshall Applewhite has 2 kids as well. They were both married, but they really hit it off and started to realize that they were chosen and in some ways special.
They were called the two. It was kind of like Neo.
Their psychoses just fed into each other. They just egged each other on. You know when you have a friend or something like that and you egg each other on? Much like we do with this podcast.
Much like we have done with various psychedelics. It's just,
yeah.
In jurisdictions where it's totally legal, by the way.
These two were like that, except instead of egging each other on to read bizarre books or not to take magic mushrooms, they convinced themselves that their previous bodies, those of Marshall Applewhite and Betty Nettles, had now been taken over by representatives of the next level, or the evolutionary level above human, or the kingdom of God, or the kingdom of heaven. All of these terms are synonymous. And these beings... Okay, so how to frame is... The theology is not actually that complex. The lore behind Heaven's Gate. So...
You're being very generous with the term theology.
The theology.
There's like some L. Ron Hubbard mythology.
Oh, this is way more basic than L. Ron Hubbard.
It's the Instagram version of War or Not.
The TikTok. Just give me the 10-second version, please. This really is like Star Wars Kill Yourself plus Jesus plus Lucifer. He talks about Lucifer a lot. Anyway, so you've got the kingdom of heaven, and that's where things are just good there. You want to get into there. He doesn't really say why, but you want to go there. Oh, and actually, I should say the later materials were all written by Applewhite because Nettles died of some sort of cancer.
Cancer of the brain and spirit.
Yeah.
How does a cult deal with like one of their co-founders who's supposed to be like super important, just like dying of an incredibly benign? Not benign, obviously. Not benign in that sense. It's obviously malignant.
She either had a primary liver cancer or she had liver mets and that killed her.
And I don't mean benign in the cancer. I mean just like it's boring. Just like
one of those nice cancers.
Yeah. She's just like she got cancer and she died. She didn't like ascend or anything like.
Well, okay, so this is interesting. So before she died, I forget which year she died, but before she died, the materials. So we got these materials on their website. I think it's like heavensgate.org or .com or something like that. The True Believers still keep it up, and it still looks like a 90s website.
Yeah, which is crazy. Hey, like they haven't hired a designer since like 92 or something.
No, I love it. I love that crispy design, that really old shit 90s website design. Makes me feel like
I love it. It's the stars in the background.
7 years old again.
Tiled background.
And they've got that sick word art. Do you remember word art from Microsoft Word?
Yeah. I love
they've got really.
The only thing they're missing is
Anyways.
Clippy. If only they had a little Heaven's
Clippy,
Cult, little Heaven's Cult Clippy with his little Nikes on.
Clippy that invites you to join the next level. Well, but the problem is we can't reach it anymore. We can't reach the next level anymore until probably the next in 2,000 years or something. I think is our next chance. Anyway, so on their website they've got a book in inverted commas, which is basically just a bunch of different posters or promotional materials that they handed out to people when they were doing their tour around America, trying to convince people that they were representatives of the next level and that if you followed them, then you too could ascend to the evolutionary level above human. So the things they put out before Nettles died tended to say that you were going to ascend during your lifetime. Like if you become part of their camp club and disappear into the Oregon wilderness, live on campgrounds with them, then eventually you're going to ascend. After she died, so in all of the materials after she died, Applewhite or Doe, I'm just going to call him Doe because that's how he refers to himself in most of these materials.
Yeah.
Doe says that her body, or her vehicle, because they call bodies vehicles, her vehicle, which was being commandeered by a representative of the next level, some spiritual being, had died because the tension between just the galaxy brain, spiritual insight of this representative and the shitty human body was too great and it just put too much stress on the body. But after she died, Doe starts talking about, we're not going to ascend during our lifetimes. We're going to ascend when we die. So I guess that's how they deal with it.
Yeah, it's just like, let's just make this completely unfalsifiable.
I would like to go over the ways that they make it impossible to falsify, or very difficult to falsify their claims and how they maintained control within the cult, because those are interesting, and some of these documents do go over that.
Yeah.
Anyway, what was I saying? I was giving an overview of the theology of Heaven's Gate. So you've got this level above us, and then throughout the universe there are gardens, which are basically planets where these representatives of the next level they use a lot of gardening metaphors where they tend to the garden to create creatures that can then ascend to the level above human or to the kingdom of God, the evolutionary level above human, blah, blah, blah. They're all different terms for the same thing. And this is because the creatures that live there are asexual. And these two were not very sex positive. They did not like sex. And naturally,
No.
because they didn't like sex,
Not very sex
these
positive.
godlike
Probably
creatures also
drag,
don't like
drag
sex.
Queens. Don't like saunas or drag queens, I assume.
So long as you weren't inflaming the sexuality of anyone else and you yourself were not having sex. I wonder, okay, so what about a totally asexual sauna?
Yeah.
What about you just go in there,
I'm
sweat,
pretty sure that's most
and leave?
saunas. That's most saunas.
Yeah,
Actually.
so they would have liked
Just a normal
asexual
sauna.
saunas. Normal sauna would have been Heaven's Gate approved.
But none of that like glory hole sauna shit.
Sauna.
Man, I love saunas.
So, what was I saying? Oh, yeah.
Saunas.
So, these creatures don't sexually reproduce. So, what they need to do is they need to make these gardens to make creatures. And if creatures are ascended enough or they're suitable, then eventually representatives of the next level will put chips in them. They'll plant chips in these beings. And then eventually, every 2,000 years or so, they'll send a representative to these places. And the first representative on Earth was Jesus. So Jesus actually wasn't the Son of God. What he actually was. So Jesus, the body Jesus was just a normal dude until he was in his late 20s, early 30s. At which point, a representative of the next level put their spirit into Jesus's body at the time of Jesus' baptism by St. John the Baptist. So Christians, if you're listening and you're Christian, I'm sorry to say, but you're wrong. You're about to learn the truth about what actually happened with Jesus. So people think that Jesus being baptized was this big event. Instead, I think these events just coincided in time. So at the time that Jesus was baptized, this spirit from the next level flew into his body and started controlling him.
So fucking good.
He started spreading the truth about Heaven's Gate, basically.
Of course.
And that was good, but the problem is you've also got these people called Luciferians, and what they are is they're spirits who used to live in the next level, but something happened and they were bad, so they left, and they live in low Earth orbit, and they just love to mess with humans to stop humans from becoming adequate vessels for representatives of the next level, or stopping human spirits from being able to ascend to the next level by getting bad ideas into their heads, like Christianity. These guys didn't like Christianity much because they said that once the representatives from the next level leave Earth and go back to the next level, well, the Luciferians immediately swoop in and start distorting all of the truths that, say, the real Jesus, not the Christian Jesus, but the real Jesus told people about. And that's why you get things like Christianity arising. So Christianity is just this huge distortion of Heaven's Gate truths. And it exists to keep people bound to this earth and not ascending to the next level. These guys were so wacky. Because, 9 of them castrated
this is right
themselves.
up there. This is way up there.
When they talk about how much they hate sex, because basically you want to get rid of all mammalian or biological urges, like hunger. So they in some of the materials about the classroom, because they also call Earth this classroom where you're learning how to ascend to the next level. They've got these materials for how you're supposed to behave in the classroom.
The next level.
The next level.
I just wanted to say we should, I don't know, we're ascending to the next level. That is what we're doing with the podcast. We're trying to ascend to the next level. As in,
we're trying to ascend to the next level with our Patreon.
Our humanly vehicle, flesh vehicle, and go to an alien world. Become advanced alien life.
Exactly. And the way you do that is by going to patreon.com/thebookclubfromhell
and giving us 60,000 US dollars
to the 60,000 US dollar Patreon tier. It's a really good tier. If Ty and Do were still with us, that's the one they would sign up to before putting on Nikes and suffocating themselves.
And putting a plastic bag over their head.
These two, let me tell you, these two were very, very trustworthy people, and people whose judgment was impeccable. And I think there is something to be learned from them writing in these materials. Book Club from Hell Patreon is a great place. I'm glad I put lots of money there, and I wish I could.
It's literally in there. It's like section 3.
It's right there.
Subsection 2. Go look at it if you don't believe us.
Yeah, they foresaw the Book Club from Hell.
Luciferian bastards. If you want to redeem yourselves, give us $60,000.
Because in the sections where they talk about the need to divest yourself of your earthly attachments,
your US dollars, and give them to Jack and Levi.
Exactly. So they've got the part about how you're meant to, in their words, burn bridges with the people in your life. So with your family, friends, get rid of them. All you need is Heaven's Gate.
Burn bridges.
They also talk about possessions, and they actually said the best. Look, if you don't know what to do with your possessions, just liquidate all of them. Put them all into US dollars.
Convert it into Bitcoin, and then send that Bitcoin to Levi and Jack.
And send it to Book Club from Hell. Go to the Book Club from Hell Patreon. But
if you guys do want to burn some bridges with loved ones, just send them an episode of Jack and Levi. And then tell them to join the Discord, and then see how many of your friends stick around.
Too,
that's a true standard. You know you've got true friends if they'll sit around the fire, the open fire, with a warm cup of cocoa in the middle of winter, and just put on some Book Club from Hell. Have some whole. If you can't do that with your friends, are they really your friends? Think about it. Think on it.
Yeah.
Think on it.
Think about it. See, yeah, I'm all about evangelism. I'm all about people evangelizing for our podcast. Next, if you're listening to this, just the next person you see, tell them about the podcast. If you're listening to this on the street, grab someone by their lapels. I don't care if you know them or not. Stick your headphones in their ear and tell them about this great new podcast you've found. I'm sure they'll appreciate it. And immediately tell them to go to our Patreon.
Yeah, and then we've got more shit coming down the fucking pipeline. The boys helped me name the app that we've been alluding to. Fucking, how's this one, Jack? San Marzano Supremacy gets around Biblioteca Inferna. Biblioteca Inferna. That's a fucking cool name.
Do we know anyone who speaks Latin? Because it's really embarrassing when you put something in Latin and you fuck it up. And I have no idea if that's right or not.
Google knows Latin.
I do not trust Google Translate.
Look, I trust Google more than I trust myself. Maybe we could, we could ask. Do you remember from college?
Yeah.
Did he do Latin or did he do like Sumerian or something? Yeah, they did ancient world studies. Yeah. Anyways,
they speak 40k, don't they?
They speak 40k.
Latin's the language they speak in 40k, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's this language that was actually made by Games Workshop.
Back in
Warhammer
like
40k.
500.
It's crazy the amount of detail they put
BC.
into it. They made this whole language.
Just to play 40k.
Yeah. Anyway, we were talking about the suicide cult, which... Yeah, their hatred for sex, their no-fap powers went so far that a bunch of them, 9 of them were voluntarily surgically castrated. Apparently, initially, it says that a registered nurse tried to castrate them surgically, but the person who underwent the procedure almost died. And I'm assuming that's going to be Bonnie Nettles. That's going to be T, who... tried to do a kitchen table castration. But after their near-death experience, and not the cool kind of Nike wearing suffocation death, the bleeding out on your
very natural
kitchen table type of death, they looked around for a surgeon who was willing to do it, and they had trouble, funnily enough, finding a surgeon who was just castrate a bunch of people because they said they needed to get castrated to go to the next level.
Hey Doc, can you please cut my balls off so I can get to the next
no,
one?
I'm not doing
It's like I'm all about that free market, but I also have the right to not do stuff. I'm just not going to do that surgery. Sorry, guys.
They eventually found a surgeon in Mexico who...
That's beyond crazy. That's beyond crazy.
Who was willing to give 9 of them the snip. I wonder if it was just... So they didn't go over the gender makeup of the people who underwent these procedures. I wonder if they were all... Because it's easier to castrate a man than it is to neuter a woman. Because like you need to go into the pelvis to do that for a woman. So I wonder if it was that they were just men and they just cut their balls off, or whether they did it to some of the women as well. See, these are the things that I wish they did document. They didn't document why they wore Nikes, and they didn't go over the specifics of the castrations.
I bet it wasn't even a doctor. I bet it was like a fucking washed up vet or something. Like some alcoholic vet.
They had a mate who moved to Mexico who was a cat doctor or something like that. And during their break, they whipped out nine pairs of testicles.
Fuck.
So that's the thing. With a lot of the literature surrounding Heaven's Gate, I've noticed that almost all people writing about it try to work out in which ways these people were being cynical and were doing all of this for power. But I really think these people believed it. I think T and Doe were true believers. Like, Doe got fucking castrated over this, voluntarily got his balls snipped off.
So here's the thing.
I don't think you do that if you're LARPing. I think this guy was pretty serious. He also
really
did kill himself.
Is really in character, committed to the character. You know, like
he was actually just a method actor gone rogue.
Just a method actor.
He was really trying to get into the headspace of his new role as a bonkers cult leader and just took it all away.
He had an upcoming like role in some like 3rd tier LA musical.
He had an upcoming role in the mid-70s. He got bumped from it, but was so deep in his method acting that he didn't notice.
He got lost and never came back.
Yeah. The ball just kept rolling with that one.
So how, like, here's the thing, Jack. Like, okay, there's 2 issues going on here. On the one hand, there's the people who... there's the people who were not there at its inception, but who became convinced after being proselytized to by T and Doe. Now that's one issue. But the thing that really blows my mind is like these 2 got together and like made this stuff up themselves. Like they knew it wasn't true.
Yeah.
And they were there when they were making it up. And then they like made it up together and they convinced one another and themselves of this stuff. This is completely mind-blowing stuff.
Wait, okay, so now that
where does this come from?
I'm gonna like this episode's so disorganized anyway, which is highly unusual.
Like, could you and I
this part called the 88 update? Yeah.
Could you and I just sit together in like a log cabin in the woods of like, I don't know, remote Wyoming or something for like 2 weeks and just take a bunch of acid? Could we walk away having started a cult where we have genuinely convinced ourselves of some like crazy bullshit? Or would we need like somebody from the Discord to like come along and help us on that?
I'm just not sure that I'm mentally ill enough for that.
You're too normie. You've been enculturated too severely.
I just think I've got the wrong forms of mental illness for starting a cult.
Yeah, it's not like what would you call it? There's like delusions of grandeur,
to be more
psychotic, maybe paranoid. Although were these guys paranoid?
I'm paranoid enough.
I don't know if these guys are paranoid. They're just like magical.
No, these guys were really not paranoid enough. Levi, they're convinced that there are these like the godlike creatures, some of whom fell from grace. And those ones, the Luciferians who fell from grace, their entire reason for existing is to fuck with humans and to prevent them from learning the truth. And that all religions, all states, everything except Heaven's Gate exist to stop you from ascending to the next level. and exist to make you stay on Earth until Earth is recycled. Oh yeah, I hadn't mentioned that. Cause
I don't do this
after
very
the
often,
comet
Jack.
passes Earth, they said that Earth was going to be recycled.
Yeah,
which is why you needed to get off planet.
So I don't do this very often, but I am going to wholeheartedly retract my statements and admit that I was completely wrong.
These people weren't paranoid.
I have been completely and utterly eviscerated on that point. The Heaven's Gate cult were extremely paranoid. I apologize to anybody that I offended by saying that they weren't paranoid. They were, in fact, paranoid.
Your lack of academic rigor.
I was minimizing their paranoia. I was not taking it seriously enough.
Actually, since you brought up them retreat, like how these two met.
They also went into hiding for 17 years to like get away from like, what the fuck, Levi?
Apparently, they were fucking moving between campgrounds and things like that, between Oregon and California, just moving up and down the West Coast, fucking sleeping under trees.
That's cool.
With their Heaven's Gate Scout Club.
That's cooked. Yeah, no. They're pretty bad.
But what I was saying, there's this part called the 88 Update where they give their own account of, it's like their origin story, but from their perspective. And I think...
I love a good origin story.
I'll just flick through a few of the big points of this to contextualize their lives. So, yeah, so they say a nurse and a college music professor met, and also they keep referring to themselves in the third person, which is always the sign of a
truly insufferable,
a well-adjusted individual.
Did you notice? I was speaking to somebody who referred to themselves in the third person.
Oh, really?
Recently, and I was like, "Why did you do that? Don't do that." But then maybe like some people, that's just like what they do. Does Levi ever do that?
But it's not a good sign.
Levi thinks that Levi might do that sometimes.
Once we start our suicide cult, I mean, not once we start our ascension cult.
Jack, we've already started. Once we start inviting others to join the suicide cult, you mean?
Yeah. This is not going to be Nikes, though.
We're going to go Patreon.
What sort of shoes would you wear?
So podcast, Patreon, app, suicide cult. This is just a method for getting people into the Discord. The Discord's top of the funnel into the cult.
Yeah. The no Nikes though. We'd be wearing Blundstones because we'd want it to be Australian, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
If we could get a sponsorship from Blundstones, actually.
RMs. I'm going to fucking fancy
RMs. Is that?
Yeah, bitch.
So
Twiggy. It got sold to an overseas company. Then Twiggy flexed and bought it back to Australia because his fucking big
nice.
dick
Okay, yeah. Well, we'll have to wear RM Williams then.
Yeah.
Be country doctor chic.
Collins Street Cowboys. Also suicide cult.
What was I saying? Oh yeah, how these two met. Just like how they described the start of the story, it sounds like two people who were like only tenuously hanging on to sanity, meeting each other, and just getting caught in a positive feedback loop.
Their fingernails. Like those cat memes where it's like hang on, and there's a little cat hanging onto the bridge. Hang in there, yeah. That's them. And then they like meet each other and they just both fall
off.
And
it's just feedback. And so I just found, Bonnie Nettles she was married with 4 kids.
That's such a good name. They had good names though. I really like their names.
Bonnie Nettles and Marshall Applewhite.
Yeah. They're really wholesome names, but they also are kind of like they sound like the sort of people who would start a suicide cult.
Yeah. They said, so 1 year before the two met, both had experienced upheaval in their lives. And this was because their bodies were responding to the entry into them of beings from the next level, which is why their lives started going haywire. And their friends thought that they were crazy. And then these two met. And they just went off the deep end and left their families.
That's hectic.
And went to an isolated house in Texas where they spent 6 weeks. And they say they went through a painful process of self-examination and began to they started to identify more with their next level mind and recognized that they were sent from space to, and I quote, do a task that had something to do with the Bible, an update in understanding, and prophecy fulfillment. So you had these two people who had been having a hard time in their lives.
Yeah.
Met each other, set each other off, disappeared for a month and a half into some isolated place in Texas where
just
24 hours a day they were egging each other on. And once they came out the other side of this, they were convinced that they were emissaries from some other dimension come to save the Earth.
Self-examining just means just like going haywire. Like just pacing around the house, like going like repetitive thoughts and stuff. Like if you actually
not examining.
If I actually this is why I try to dissociate from other people. If I empathize with like that story, it actually it's really, really dark. It's really sad.
It sounds like two people who are very mentally ill.
Yeah. And then
finding another person whose the harmonic frequency of their mental illness is just perfectly calibrated with their own. And it just goes into this crazy doom loop.
Like when you get two, what are those like little chiming bell thing? Like those little things that you use to tune like pianos with, like tuning thing.
Like a tuning fork?
Yeah, you get a couple of those and they can like resonate with one another. But there's this phenomena that like if you fuck up building a bridge with like the harmonic frequency or whatever of like the wind in the area or whatever, you can actually get fluctuating bridges. And
I saw a video of that. Yeah, how the bridge just disintegrates.
Yeah. That's what happened. They didn't make a nice beautiful symphony or like a nice chord. It was like, oh yes, that's a lovely minor chord. It was just a bridge fucking flapping up and down and then crashing into the abyss.
Yeah. Because they convinced themselves that they were the two witnesses mentioned in the Book of Revelations. And after their
I feel like Jack, can I just say something?
Yeah.
If I ever come to you and say that I've started identifying with anything in the Book of Revelation, please immediately check me into a mental health institute.
Call a doctor.
Call a doctor, please. Just preemptively. That's my advance directive. Unless you're like
Levi.
Hey,
I found an isolated place in Western Australia, and we can disappear there for 6 weeks.
We'll just read the Book of Revelations again and again and again and again, and maybe we'll burn a campfire inside the house, and we'll just inhale the smoke and read the Book of Revelation all day.
We disappear for 6 weeks, then reappear at Foot Locker or something like that, checking out some Nikes.
Really into Nikes. Jack's always been an Adidas sort of dude.
All they talk about is the next level in Nikes.
Anyway, so you were saying.
Then these two decided that they were going to drive around the US, being led where the Spirit wanted them to go, and they basically just floated around, giving talks and things like that about the true nature of Jesus. That is, Jesus being a vehicle being controlled by a representative of the next level. And they came to realize that Nettles and Applewhite, were actually T and Do, who were also representatives of the next level. And that T was more senior, I guess, to Do. So she was what's it called? As an older member, that's it. So there are no gods or anything like that in the next level, but there are older members who are more powerful beings. Oh, this is a good part. They said that they realized that Jesus' body was that of a next level hybrid created by means of artificial insemination. So, that's awesome. I mean, I guess that's still a virgin birth. That's, I guess, if members of the next level artificially inseminated the Virgin Mary, and yeah, that's how Jesus came about. That was pretty cool.
The more you know.
The more you know. Yeah. At this stage, these two said that this was a Luciferian plot, I'm not sure. So Nettles was charged with stealing credit cards and Applewhite was charged with stealing a rental car. They gave an explanation as to why this wasn't their fault, but I'm pretty sure they just stole stuff. And Applewhite ended up spending 6 months in jail. And he makes sure to note that while being tried for stealing a car, which wasn't his fault, I want to reinforce, definitely wasn't his fault, he underwent a psychiatric evaluation and he passed it with flying colours.
Flying.
So
colours.
he's not crazy.
Nobody's more mentally stable than Doe.
He's very stable.
Doe.
Like they happen to believe that they are the vehicles being commandeered by two spirits from an extra-material dimension, but that doesn't show up on a psych. I guess no psych test really is validated for detecting that, is it? No, how many psychiatrists are going to be claimed to identify is this person next level positive or not? Is that part of my psych evaluation? Are these vessels being commandeered by extra dimensional creatures or not?
Is there a standardized test for that?
Yeah. Anyway, but from their legal troubles, they did learn an important lesson, which is that the material world, or things like credit cards or material possessions, are not the ways of the next level, but are Lucifer's ways of guaranteeing your service to the world. When I say Lucifer is just the most powerful of the Luciferians. He's not like the devil or anything like that. He's just this former member of the next level who, for some reason, is bad now. And he's just more powerful than the other representatives who are also bad now.
How the fuck did they convince 39 other people, or however many other people, 39 people killed themselves? How the fuck did they convince so many people? Like, what the fuck? That's insane.
So, yeah. So initially they had many more people. They said that at their highest point they had 100 or so people when they were sleeping in a campground in Oregon. Like their life sounded
what
like
is it with
chaos.
America and being able to like get cult followings? Is that an American thing?
I don't know.
Does that happen more in America? Or is it just because it's a big country?
I don't know. It could be population.
Because occasionally there's cults in Australia. They don't happen. They just don't seem to be happening as much. There's that Dandenong cult outside of Melbourne.
Yeah, and then there was Kenja. That was a pretty weird cult.
Kenja?
Yeah. Named after Ken and Jan, the husband and wife couple who started it. It's
Kenja Communication. Oh, but apparently they've got a website, kenja.com.au, and it says Kenja is not a cult. So you've been refuted.
Yeah, that's how you know it's not a cult. I think Ken committed suicide after being charged with molesting 14-year-old girls, which is also, I'm sure, just a smear campaign.
If he had just cut his balls off, he wouldn't have had that problem.
If he had followed the way of Heaven's Gate and undergone surgical castration, he would have been fine. He would be in the next level right now, looking down on us.
I suppose he might already be in the next level. Okay, what's another good concept?
So what was I saying? Oh, how they convinced people. Yeah, they had about 100 people once they'd finished their first tour around America and they were living in campgrounds and stuff like that. But these people started to leave, and it eventually left behind a hard core of probably like 40 or so people.
And they've still got people who are active.
I think so. In terms of their conditioning of people, how they convince people to finally kill themselves for this cult, they go over some of the techniques they used. So all the people who join the cult, so they say it's not reincarnation, but it's basically reincarnation. So you've got this immortal soul, and when your body dies, that soul just goes to another body. And they keep saying it's not reincarnation, but that's definitely reincarnation. And this immortal soul, it just does not matter what you do while the members of the next level are absent from the Earth. All that matters is what you do when they come to Earth. So when they're on Earth, if you follow the members of the next level, or the representatives, then you get to go to the next level. And how do you know if you've been chosen? Because as I said previously, the next level will select human spirits, I guess, because they're not selecting the bodies, that are suitable for ascending to the next level, and they'll put chips in them that both I guess mark them out for being good vessels for next level spirits, but also impart a small amount of knowledge about the next level, which is how they can recognize the representatives of the next level. So the people who came to T and O and were interested are marked out already by the next level. And so I guess that's probably the first stage of the sales funnel. The sales funnel from being a functioning human to suffocating yourself wearing Nikes to get to the next level. This is the start of the sales funnel.
And you go from
you are really special if you listen to us.
Unwitting just bystander to cutting your balls off and putting a plastic bag over your head. There's stages to it.
Yeah. So stage one is make them feel special. And so that, if you like
build them up and then neg them a bit.
Then you have been chosen by the next level. You start reeling them in. Then they talk about, so they isolate the people pretty quickly. So we laugh at them for living in campgrounds and things like that. And a large part of that would have been motivated by financial considerations because they didn't have all that much money. But also I think it was to isolate the people around them. So you keep these people isolated and 24 hours a day just keep telling them all about the next level and Luciferian plots and things like that. While they are in the campground, and I think eventually they moved into houses but had to keep changing houses. While they were there, they would use things like, they call them check partners. So they paired off people. And a check partner is a person paired with you who shares the same desires and goals. And someone with whom you have no physical or romantic relationship. That's really important.
Absolutely. None.
And this check partner will always seek the action which their older member would have them do. So that is, you basically have surveillance. So you surveil someone else to make sure they always do the right thing, and they surveil you.
Standard cult shit.
And they also had self-criticism sessions where they talked about how bad they were previously and how they're really good now and how they want to keep being good. So I think that the check partner method is also a pretty good way of reinforcing
There's just
obedience.
like these standard things that, when I looked into, obviously Scientology, what are other ones? So I just can't remember the other cults that I've looked into over the years. But that always seems to be a very common theme across them is the self-criticism sessions. Or so, like something like that, something to that effect. Constantly like undermining your own
a bruising
faculties.
Maoist self-criticism session.
Yeah, it's pretty hectic.
Yeah, he's a pretty wacky bit. So eventually, T's body died, so she got cancer and died. But she continued to mentally communicate with Do and with other members of the cult, and sometimes she would speak through Do's body, and the students would understand what she said through him. And this is because they say that T and Do speak in NL base, which is a next-level computer language which can only be understood by those with the correct computer program, given by having an advanced chip implanted into their body. And can you just imagine that, like, people sitting around isolated from the rest of the world with their check partners, listening to Do spiritually communicate with T and speak in NL base, the next level computer language, and try to derive meaning from it. But because you've got your check partner who's probably going to go like, oh yeah, I really get it, when they don't understand
because they don't want to accidentally like throw themselves.
You're going to tell your check partner that you really understand it.
Yeah, it's like what is that? That's that must happen when people are speaking in tongues, right? Like they've got to maintain the mutual like they can't admit to just not understand anything, because otherwise they'll out themselves.
Yeah, but I do think eventually, at least in the context of Heaven's Gate, that probably moved over into them just believing that they were actually speaking NL base.
Glossolalia. I believe that's what it's called. Spontaneously, like, making these sounds. Glossolalia. That's what it's called. Pretty weird. I reckon we should have glossolalia session, Jack.
That'd be pretty low effort content.
We should try to make up something like NL.
That'd be very low effort
2 hours
content.
of you and me just. It feels good. Have you ever given it a go?
No.
It feels cathartic.
Like when we form our own suicide cult, we'll probably have to, won't we?
They've got offences. Can we read the offences?
Oh wait, no! Before we go into the offences, I just came across right at the end of the 88 statement. They talk about all these things like the government knows about aliens. They this is an important part actually in terms of how you mentally condition people to eventually kill themselves. They say that for candidates, the proof of the truth of Heaven's Gate is intentionally withheld while they don't have faith, and it's only once they've developed faith that they are then given the proof of the next level's existence. I just found this really funny quote about their antipathy to sex. I quote, "For a while we tried to use what we had learned in an attempt to help victims of problematic genetic programming. We briefly started what was called Anonymous Sexaholics Celibate Church, aimed at people who had already joined a sexaholics-type organization. We tried to show them the positive side of their problem, that to be liberated from that addiction, having already acknowledged that they were addicts, put them ahead of the pack as far as having the potential for an improved relationship with their heavenly Father was concerned." I just love that they were so strongly no-fap that they formed the Anonymous Sexaholics Celibate Church to convince other people never to have sex. They also said that HIV was actually a blessing because it could help spur celibacy. They really like celibacy.
They've got a real growth mindset.
Yeah, exactly. When life gives you lemons, you just make lemonade, don't you?
When life gives you
when there's a deadly disease
you
being unleashed,
you stop having sex, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. And you connect with the next level.
Connect with the next level.
Which thing were you wanting to read?
They've got this thing called offences, which is
that bit.
Which is they've got these things they call them behavioural guidelines, which is so culty. So
yeah,
maybe there's 17 steps and there's major offences and lesser offences. Maybe you should read both. So this is
let's read through them because those were really good.
Nice, and they're really weird. And you also very much get the sense that, okay, if somebody's asking me these sorts of things or saying that in order to be a part of their organization or whatever, it's probably a cult. Anyways, November 1976, the 17 steps. 1, can you follow instructions without adding your own interpretation? It's just straight into just no critical thought. 2, can you deliver instructions as you receive them, or do they change according to your computer? 3, do you participate in inconsiderate conversation polluting the ears of others while you and your partner are working things out? 4, are you physically clumsy?
I just want to add to that because in other parts they also mention that you should not offer suggestions without being asked to, and that just ties into that third point you read out.
Are you physically clumsy, breaking things because you handle them too harshly and carelessly? Do you halfway complete a task because of your poor standard of what is thorough? I think Scientology does this as well, and I can only assume other cults do it, is having this ridiculously high standard of perfectionism. and it basically serves as a way to just like have an easy reason or like easy criterion for punishing people. It's like you left like a smudge on the dish when you were doing the dishes, so you get punished. Do you put off tasks?
You hold up this unattainable level of perfection for people so that you can constantly criticize them and tell them that that's why they need to follow the cult.
Which is pretty whack, obviously. But really, really fun if you're into like findom and stuff. Like, that's definitely up your alley. If you like that shit, you'll love prescription number 5. Okay, prescription 6 or like step 6. Do you put tasks off? Do you procrastinate? 7. Are your patterns?
Are you putting off going to our Patreon
and giving us $60,000?
Giving us $60,000.
Are your patterns of cleanliness, sensitivity, gentleness, etc. consistent? Or are they good only when spotlighted? Ooh. Do you have to be smacked upside the head like a little bitch? Like a little bitch. Don't make us come after you.
Step 8 is really good.
8. Do you use more of something than is adequate? For example, excessively high cooking flame, more toothpaste than necessary. Could you imagine some fucking crazy cunt just looking over your shoulder, just checking, like, you've taken 1 millimeter too much toothpaste or something, and then the next thing you're getting a flogging.
You got to stuff it back in the tube there, buddy.
Far out.
Yeah. You get a little bit of an insight of what it would have been like to live with these people. But can you imagine, though, living horrible every day with your Czech partner, even examining how much toothpaste you were using?
Yeah, these people are crazy.
No wonder they went bonkers.
Well, they sent
your mind.
They sent each other nuts, I suppose, didn't they? Like they made the entire situation worse than it had to be. Like, they could have just been like a nice cult.
This is a really good example of a positive feedback loop of getting people who probably, like, these were all lost souls. You don't turn up in a group like Heaven's Gate if everything's going really well in your life, do you?
Speak for yourself, mate.
And they just set each other off. No, I'm all about that founder mindset. I want to be a founder, a creator.
Founder mindset.
Now's the time to build.
We're going to make the world a better place.
That's what Andreessen Horowitz meant when they put out that "Now is the time to build" article. Now is the time to build your own suicide cult.
I've not seen this "Now is the time to build" article. I'm sure it's dumb. Most of its things.
You can trust me when I say that it is about founding suicide cults.
Mark Andreessen, huge fan of suicide cults.
That's what he loves it.
All right, so
Andreessen Horowitz. Well, they're like, what they do is they look for promising young cults and give them funding
they look for
in return for a stake
cults
in whatever spiritual benefits they get. So I mean, because they were one of the early investors in Heaven's Gate. So they get a bit of the spiritual capital from those 39 people ascending to a comet and traveling to another dimension. They got a pretty good payout on that. You know, that was 100x. They really smashed that one out of the park.
But really, they're looking for the next Scientology. You know, they're always they're in the they're in the home run business.
Missed out on Scientology.
They're in the home run business. They're in the it's like pharmaceuticals, you know, like, you know, you'll spend you know, you'll sink 10 to make the 11th, you know, pay back everything else. So
exactly, and they're good at what they do.
But I believe on
they miss Scientology, but a lot of people miss Scientology.
Yeah, it's gone that.
Yeah, a lot of people in the cult VC business missed Scientology, but you know,
I think the next Scientology is the Book Club from Hell, and Andreessen Horowitz should go to our Patreon and give us $60,000. Hey Mark, hey Marky Mark, VC. Hey Ben Horowitz, Ben and Marky Mark, and hey, shout out to any other Silicon Valley venture capitalists if you happen to be listening.
Our Y Combinator application still in the works.
Shout out to Sam Altman.
They've done very little investing in cults, actually. I expect that they want to expand into it. I mean, they seem like pretty forward-thinking people.
It's a new frontier. It's an expanding market as well. You know, you
it's
want to go
market.
to the market. You want the company to grow with the market. That's where all the major gains are.
Exactly.
9.
And they're just not looking at, so say vertical integration, I just think is something that's been so underappreciated in this. Because look, Heaven's Gate were good. I'm not going to talk them down. They were good at what they did. But for example, why weren't they partnering with Nike? Imagine if instead of 39 people, it was
390,000.
10 million. But at the same time, they'd integrated with Nike so that Nike could make the shoes that the members would buy.
They could have little running companion audio
bags.
Recordings for the
Why
Nike
weren't
Run
they making
Plus
branded plastic bags?
Branded plastic bags.
Imagine
Nike
branded
Run
plastic bags for brand recognition. So you see a dead body on the street with Nikes on and a Heaven's Gate branded plastic bag around their head, and you just straight away you think Heaven's Gate. Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
And that's it. That's brand recognition.
And then you go and buy some Nikes.
Some Nikes.
Some
exactly.
Adidas.
Yeah. Branded
Adidas.
Nikes.
Otherwise, everybody's just buying speed dealer sunnies and fucking Adidas trackies.
Anyway, but this is why we're forward thinking, and I don't know why we haven't gotten funding for our ideas yet.
I don't know. I'm at a loss for ideas as well, mate. Why hasn't somebody given us $60,000?
Other people aren't seeing what we're seeing of how much of a growth area.
I see an enormous market,
a promising
a
young,
huge growing market,
a promising suicide cult startup offered. Angel investors, VCs, just anyone. Give us a call.
Just anybody who's a mortal being who wants to ascend to the next level.
Or immortal beings.
Yeah.
I don't want to close
Shout out
the market
to Jesus.
off yet. Shout out to the representative of the next level who is controlling Jesus's body like a puppet, according to Heaven's Gate. No, I don't want to home in on either the mortal or the immortal market yet. You know, we're still into the discovery phase. If we end up making a product just for mortal or for immortal beings, then so be it. But you know, we're not there yet. Anyway, we were talking about all of the rules that this cult used to convince people to kill themselves. Where were we? Patterns of cleanliness.
Next two steps, 9 and 10, give you a sense of the types of personalities that this organization attracts. 9, do you go from one extreme to another, as from overeating to undereating, etc.? Yep. Bet you they had a few of those.
Yeah.
Yep. 10.
Yeah.
Are you sensitive when approaching another individual about something you want to discuss? Do you permit that individual the choice to continue what he is doing, or do you force him to drop it in order to give attention to you? Do you stop and check, or do you assume that what is on your mind is more important than what is on theirs? Know the difference. This is in parentheses. Know the difference between your relationship with your teachers and your fellow classmates in this regard.
This is just like don't speak unless you're spoken to.
Yeah, pretty much. 11. Do you needlessly ask a question when the answer is obvious, or a moment of silent observation will quickly reveal the answer? Do you ever do that, Jack?
Yeah. These people really had a problem with people
thinking,
asking them questions or offering suggestions.
Yeah, they wanted just complete compliance.
Which makes sense given that they were next-dimensional beings talking to humans.
Insane.
I mean, would you want ants talking back to you?
Fair, no. I wouldn't take lip from a goddamn ant. I'd put a little tiny ant Nikes on him and suffocate him with a little tiny plastic bag.
Suffocate.
Shove a little tiny ant
the
bug
ant market. Imagine that.
The ant market. Huge. If we could start a suicide cult for ants,
there's got to be a lot of ants. That's a lot.
And imagine how many Nikes we could sell to the ant market. You know, there's billions of them, and there's 6 legs on each. In fact, per customer,
one ant is worth 3 humans.
And they only live for like a few days, so it's just like this massive population growth all the time.
Turnover.
The turnover. Yeah. Mate.
Holy yeah, okay. So I'm beginning to see.
Come on, Mark.
Taking shape in my mind, we need a suicide cult
I think, hey, Jack.
ants that is integrated with some sort of shoe manufacturer.
Jack, I think.
What about spiders?
I think we need a fucking pitch deck.
Yeah, well, no, but spiders are even
insects,
better.
All insects.
Like the arachnid market,
crustaceans. Crustaceans.
Yeah. Well, no, what I'm saying is 8 legs instead of 6.
8 legs. What about the millipede market? What about the centipede and the millipede market? Could we start a death cult for all millipedes and centipedes? Hundreds, thousands of legs, thousands of pairs of Nike per customer.
Yeah, okay, I think that's probably the better market.
Little tiny plastic bags to put around their fucking little ugly centipede heads, and we choke them out.
Yeah,
little pair of Air Jordans or whatever. Centipede size Air Jordans.
I think we're onto something here.
Oh, yeah.
If anyone comes up with this idea, and it comes up with an inverted commas, I know they've stolen it from us.
We'll come after you. We've got friends in high places.
If you're listening to this,
our
we'll
IP.
come after you if you try to steal this idea.
All right, we're friends with extra-dimensional beings who can tear you in your asshole in the court.
We are extra-dimensional beings.
Hey, Jack. I just need to go to the restroom real quick. I'll just be back. Do you want to go from number 12? Are you pushy?
Yeah, I'll keep reading them.
I'll just beat it.
Number 12. Are you pushy, aggressive, interfering, or demanding in any way? This is just continuation of the previous few points of people who are completely obedient to the whims of tea and dough, won't offer any sort of opinions, won't ask them any strange questions like, why are we still living in a campground? I'm cold and hungry and I kind of want to go home. 13. Has familiarity caused you to become so relaxed with your partners or others that your actions or words don't hold enough restraint? 14. Are you gentle, simple, cautious, and thoughtfully restrained in your steps and all other physical actions or words? These people must have had a real problem with people talking and people walking loudly, I guess. I guess some people do step more loudly than others. And obviously that really, really worried these two cult leaders who didn't want people stomping around, didn't want people asking questions, didn't want people offering their opinions or doing anything inconsiderate like that. 15. Have you outgrown defensiveness and its flip side, martyrdom? Because we wouldn't want any martyrs in Heaven's Gate. I guess it doesn't really count as martyrdom though, if just your body dies, your vessel, and your spirit catches a comet to the next level. It's a semantic argument, but if that is their definition of martyrdom, then I suppose that the 39 people who killed themselves weren't martyrs. They weren't dying. They weren't being killed for Heaven's Gate. They were doing it themselves so that they could live an immortal life somewhere in the heavens. 16. Can you understand and review in your mind all the ways in which members of the next level are sensitive? If you can, you have no excuse for not working on improving in these areas at all times. Just this is more of don't stomp and don't use too much toothpaste. Those are the two things that members of the next level get really, really upset about, and you shouldn't do that. Just avoid stomping, avoid using more than a pea-sized piece of toothpaste. Finally, 17. When your teachers have asked someone to do a task and it relates to you, do you treat that task and its deliverers with as much respect as you would if it came directly from your teachers?
Oh, you're a team player. You're a team player?
Yeah, you're a team player.
You're a team player, Jack. You're a team player, motherfucker.
Are you a team player? Do you have that growth mindset?
We don't want to be martyrs. We want to be winners. That's what...
I do think that Bitcoin is becoming fairly cult-like. Well, becoming, it already is, but...
Fucking, it's been a cult from the very fucking beginning, mate. It's getting better and better. Fucking love Bitcoin. Fucking love Bitcoin. I sent Jack just before he got on the call. I sent him a random image of the Death Star, like from like
the Death Star,
the Return of the Jedi, when it's like being rebuilt, except the bit where the gun comes out, like where the laser comes out, like the thing that's like a crater. There's Bitcoin's logo in it. You know, Jack, this image of Bitcoin Death Star. That's my phone. That's my phone background. It's coming to this.
Not a picture of Michael Saylor's face with laser eyes.
They just had little Michael Saylor in like Emperor Palpatine, just zapping everybody. Yeah, no, I imagine that there is actually a Bitcoin crypto culty thing. There's these people who have bought like an island off of like was it Croatia or was it like there's some island in the middle of a river somewhere near you actually, like near Czech or Austria or something, and they bought this fucking piece of land and they're trying to make it into this like free city state just built on Bitcoin. Maybe we should look at their shit.
Was that the one with that painfully cringy
no, it wasn't Crypto
describing
Island.
How good it is.
No, I fucking love
Crypto.
that.
Yeah, Crypto Island.
No, there's some other crazy motherfuckers.
That was painful.
No, as far as I'm aware, these guys did not create like a early 2000s like CD-ROM video game
that was brutal
animation for their advertising. No. Yeah, so the next thing that we're going to read is also behavioural guidelines. I just am so suspicious of any organisation that has behavioural guidelines like this.
Which article is this one?
Additional guidelines for learning control and restraint. A self-examination exercise.
Yep.
Spring 1988. Major offences. So this little thing is cut into two sections. Major offences and lesser offences.
Wait. And
the major offences are 1, deceit. 1A, doing an act, quote, on the sly. As in, like, thinking without double checking that those thoughts are okay. B, so 1B, lying to my teachers or any of my classmates. 1C, keeping an offence to myself, not exposing it the same day. There's that whole thing, and you see that, like you said, like in Maoist China, during the Cultural Revolution. Was it the Cultural Revolution? No, the Agricultural Revolution.
Yeah.
And like, you know, self-informing and like Soviet Russia and stuff of like putting an immense amount of pressure on people to dob themselves in. Because if you can get somebody to like confess their own wrongdoings to the organization that will then punish them, like you've got that motherfucker by the balls. Or, well, in this case, they don't have balls.
It's even better if they start making things up. If they start making up offences.
Just to turn themselves in so that they can show that they're pious to the group. Then you've won. You've won that battle. They are putty in your hands. And you can get them. You can sell as many pairs of Nike to them as you want.
This article is from 1988, and they killed themselves in 1997. So they had 9 more years of this, and presumably this has been going on before they wrote this article as well.
Fucking crazy. These people are fucking nuts.
So just imagine living like this for some of these people have been living like this for 17 years.
Deep. No, it was in New Mexico, Santa Fe, California. Yeah. Isolated though, regardless. They were very isolated. So
imagine being isolated and living like this for 17 years. It's no wonder they were.
I reckon you could
at the end of it.
Take a perfectly normal, sane person, and for whatever reason, if they volunteered to, I don't know, it's just a matter of anthropology, and they went and stayed with these people for 9 years straight, they would just go crazy.
Yeah, I'd be lacing up my Nikes as well. These are just the perfect ways to drive someone mad.
Into my eyeballs.
Okay, so offence 2, like of the major offences, sensuality, permitting arousal in thought or in action, not nipping it in the bud. The not pouring cold water down your pants or getting castrated in Mexico.
Yeah, not nipping it in the vas deferens. So you see, there's a lot of emphasis on like the thought, so permitting arousal in thought or action, and there's other things where they mention like thoughts like, yeah, it's internal thought policing. Very interesting. How do you inculcate somebody so that they're actually monitoring their own thoughts? I think that's why I had this morbid fascination with 1984 when I was in high school, and like Russian Soviet era literature, like the brothers Karamazov, or however you pronounce it, and
I think that was Tsarist, wasn't it?
Tsarist, yeah, and just anything around. It's like the inner privacy of your own mind. Major offenses. 3, breaking any instruction or procedure knowingly. So deceit.
I like that basically,
and
you've got at the end of the major offenses is just like doing anything we don't like.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like how authoritarian. Oh my god. So lesser offenses.
There are 31 lesser offenses.
Should we just do the highlights?
Yeah. But the first of these is taking any action without using my check partner. So you're always surveilled.
Any action.
Actually, number 2 is pretty good too. Trusting my own judgment or using my own mind.
Yeah.
It's just so blunt.
Yeah. That's just great. Number 5, criticizing or finding fault with my classmates or teachers.
Yeah. And then the one... Number 4 is also responding defensively to my classmates or teachers. So just any sort of response to them can be taken as defensive, and you're told to stop doing it.
Number 9 is particularly heinous. Fucking scary. 9, staying in my own head, having private thoughts, not staying open with my partner, separateness. Yeah, these people are fucked.
I love 13. Exaggerating vehicular symptoms.
Vehicle.
What
body,
I presume this is just like bodily sensations and things like that, because they keep referring to bodies as vehicles. And I think 13 just means talking about any sort of physical discomfort. If you have a cold or something like that, those are vehicular symptoms.
Yeah. 16, having likes or dislikes. You just must be perfectly neutral towards everything and obedient.
Well, that's what they were doing. Apparently, as it went on, T, especially Doe, after T died, became more obsessed with getting everyone to be exactly the same.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, absolutely no sexuality, no preferences, beyond, of course, doing what Doe wanted, speaking through Doe, what they wanted. Yeah.
Number 25, exercising.
Maybe that goes some of the way towards the Nikes, in that maybe it wasn't so much that they were Nikes, but they were just the same type of shoe. Maybe they could have all been the same Reeboks or something like that. I don't know. They didn't answer the question I most want answered, which is why Nikes? Why did you have to wear Nikes to get to heaven?
They're pretty fucking good shoes. Like they're a high-end pair of Nikes good shoes. Really good. Yeah, I can see why.
You cannot catch a ride on a comet unless you're wearing them.
To be fair, like if you were going to touch down on an extraterrestrial spacecraft, like would you really want anything other than like a nice pair of yays? What a highlight.
Maybe that's what Kanye is doing. You know, how he's been getting into, or has been into it for a long time, fashion and shoes and stuff like that. He is creating the vertically integrated suicide cult.
You know,
he is going to
start in a heartbeat, right?
Telling people.
If he wanted to, he could have like 1 million people in a cult, like in 2 seconds.
Yeah, and maybe that's what he's doing. He's like, yep, buy my overpriced white t-shirt and my shoes, and we're all going to kill ourselves together.
Oh God, I hope he doesn't do that without cutting us in on it.
Without consulting
us and market.
I don't want competition.
Yeah.
And I just don't know if we can make music to attract people in the same way that he's been able to.
Well, Ben Horowitz wrote...
No, that's definitely... He's got defensibility there. No, we really can't move in on. on that when it comes to competition between suicide cults. Book Club from Hell is outcompeted in that area.
Ben Horowitz knows Ye or knew Ye back in the day because he when he was writing his book, The Hard Thing About Hard Things, I think Kanye wrote a foreword or something for it or some shit. I don't know. There's pictures of Ben Horowitz from Andreessen Horowitz, the VC firm, with Kanye West from 10 years ago. So given that you and I are close affiliates of and collegiate with Mark Andreessen and Ben Horowitz, I think we're only one handshake away from Kanye West. So we should really ask our good friend Ben Horowitz to introduce us to Ye, and maybe we can give him advice about how to start a death cult. Exactly. Yeah. A stylish death cult.
Yeah, maybe we should change direction in that because I've been working with Peter Thiel, with Pete,
very closely,
as I call him.
Yeah, Petey.
Yeah, very closely.
Yeah, good dude.
Looking into this field, but yeah, I'm not sure what his Kanye connections are like.
Yeah.
I think we do need to get to Kanye.
Yeah, we need to get to Kanye, and I think if we put Kanye West in a new fresh pair, he needs a new line. He's had a bit of PR damage recently, and we need. There's nothing better than it's because the people who control Hollywood have just been discrediting him unfairly.
The Luciferians
control Hollywood.
The Luciferians from Heaven's Gate.
I'll also draw attention to lesser offense number 25: exercising poor control of thoughts, running through my head, being easily distracted.
Mm-hmm.
But another interesting one is number 30, which is identifying with influences, using the quote I or quote me pronoun in application to an offense instead of recognizing that it was an influence using me. Yeah, that's a really weird one as well.
The Luciferians again.
Dissociativity. It's like when you do...
Yeah, they're just wanting people to depersonalize.
Depersonalize, dissociate. Like when you take heaps of ketamine and you're just blasting the fuck buttons into your ears and you just have a bit of a K-hole. That's what they want people to do. Which has definitely never happened to me.
Stop being able to move.
And just can't turn off the fucking fuck buttons.
Just trapped there.
Just go insane.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Not from personal experience.
No.
Yeah, these lists of offences were very, very illustrative of how these people operated.
This, I don't know, this is pretty, you're saying, who was that person that you were talking about before? Who you were saying was more malicious? Tim something? Or
Jim Jones?
Jim Jones, yeah. This sounds pretty malicious,
I'd say it is extremely malicious, but limited. I mean, again, we're operating within the context of suicide cults. So they're never going to be benign. You need to realise that the Overton window has been shifted here. Within the context of people who want to convince other people to commit suicide with them.
Jack, these are not nice people.
These are less bad than Jim Jones.
Yeah, the Overton window is okay.
It's 900 people or something.
Jim Jones, pretty bad, hey? These guys. these guys is thought police, suicide cult motherfuckers. They're not that bad.
Within the context of suicide cults, all I'm saying is that Heaven's Gate are great, and I really like them. No, okay, so there are a few ways that they weren't as bad as Jim Jones. So, okay, they didn't sexually abuse anyone in the cult. That's, by the standards of cults, that's pretty good. Granted, they did make a lot of people castrate themselves, which is bad. So, it's give and take. Not everyone's perfect. And I think that for when we go public, for when we publicly list our suicide cult, we need to learn lessons from Heaven's Gate and from Jim Jones as to what we should and shouldn't do. Nice. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know, man. Like, is it? Oh, I just don't understand.
This is particularly crazy, even by the standards of this podcast.
What's maybe admissions requirements? Do you want to go through the admissions? Do you want to go through the admission requirements?
Yeah. Which article was that?
This is called Total Overcomers Classroom Admission Requirements. Guidelines sent to those who were seriously considering joining the class, those who had responded to articles, ads, and correspondence. Note to the reader. This particular type of classroom experience is no longer offered after we all killed ourselves. October 23, 1993. It's not that long. Should we?
It is a bit of a shame. It's like when you're looking at a course that you want to do and you see that the application deadline's passed. That's kind of the experience of looking at Heaven's Gate in 2023 and thinking, oh, fuck, they've killed themselves. The Luciferians are already distorting the messages that T and O left us.
I think they're creating fake scarcity.
I'm just going to get recycled.
I think they're creating fake scarcity. I reckon they still run this experience.
1997, I mean, in my defense, I was 5 when they killed themselves.
Hey, man.
I couldn't have been expected to join.
Sounds like excuses to me, Jack.
That is an excuse, which I'm pretty sure is one of the minor offences.
They make little child-sized Nikes and little child-sized plastic bags.
That's true, yeah. My parents could have bought me a child-sized pair of Nikes.
Here, baby Jack, take this plastic bag, put it on your head.
I mean, when I was 5, I was living in California. I would have been kind of close to these people as well. There's no excuse.
Yeah. You were living in California.
Yeah, I mean, look, okay, I'll put that one on my parents for being bad parents and not buying me a pair of Nikes and sending me to the suicide cult.
It was just down the road. It was just in Santa Fe, mate.
They could have driven me down to the
They could have dropped you off.
compound.
This was like, instead of going to, like, I don't know, football practice or whatever you fucking Americans do with your kids, they should have taken you down to the Heaven's Gate cult.
We'll see you in the next level.
Just give you some, like, you know, those quartered oranges, you know, you give to kids and they go and play
something for the road.
Something for the road. Can we go to McDonald's after we kill ourselves?
In the next level, they've got all the McDonald's you could ever... Actually, they don't have all the McDonald's you could ever want because they don't eat.
Yeah, they don't.
No, actually, no McDonald's. No more McDonald's, no orange slices.
Okay, introduction. The next level's desire is to help or nourish souls. They are eager to assist any creatures who are heading in the right direction of their own volition. If they think you have the capacity to respond to this, and they want to give you an opportunity to receive it, then a member of the next level actually puts you in contact with the information that is presented in our ad. Quote, final offer from the evolutionary level above human. It was the next level's presence standing right beside you that explains that powerful response you felt as you first read the ad. They know their target audience. They know that their target audience reads crazy shit like this and then has a powerful emotional response. I'm fucking just completely...
Also, like, as a preface to most of these articles, they talk about how the rest of the world says that Heaven's Gate is a cult, but Heaven's Gate is not a cult. It's real. And anyone who thinks they're a cult is a Luciferian.
Yeah.
They're just heading that criticism off before it's made.
They're just like, yeah, Luciferians.
I'm pretty sure that is the first thing.
It's
one of the first things they say in this article.
The first thing. Blah, 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 blah. I will read this point. We know at first you may have experienced some degree of skepticism or doubt, but if you are continuing to wonder whether or not you are a part of us, or seem to desire more, quote, proof, or are hesitant to sever your ties or conquer your addictions, these are all indications that this may not be the right place or time for you. However, if deep down in your loins that need to be chopped the fuck off, you feel like, I have no choice. Something inside me tells me I cannot help but proceed with this, joining this not cult. I must at least take one more step. In other words, if you know know in the Evolian sense, if you truly know that your relationship with the next level is the only thing that makes any sense to you, then we will be able to serve in the capacity of helping you. If you believe that we truly do represent the kingdom of God, then you can understand why you cannot enter the classroom on your terms. You cannot, quote, call the shots or be concerned about having a position of leadership or needing recognition. Further, you would want only the next level through its procedures to be your guidance. A student who is part of this family will grow to value flexibility and know that whatever instruction he receives, he or she, but he, really he, come on guys, is exactly what he needs for his most accelerated growth. I think these guys are like consummate fucking salesmen. They have got this shit dialed in. They right here in this like introductory paragraph, they have like filtered out. There's this technique in sales where you want to put up barriers that self-selects people out of the thing that you're trying to sell. So it's like, if you're selling, I don't know, like some fucking bullshit online course to people who are just like newbies in business and you're a fucking scammer. This is me watching too much CoffeeZilla. Then you want to filter out more experienced people. So, and you just want to get those newbies. So you've got to like put in negative filters. They've done this very well. And you know what? I've noticed that Americans, is this something just in American culture or something? It's like Americans are really good at selling shit. They're really good at like public speaking. And
yeah, I have noticed that.
Is it something like in like school or something that it's just like something that they do a lot of? Because they know how to sell themselves. They know how to sell their cults as well.
I think at least culturally, in many parts of the US, self-promotion is a lot more socially acceptable than it is, for example, in Australia.
Yeah, it's completely not socially acceptable at all. If you just start talking out people, people will be like, "What the fuck, dude?"
Yeah, maybe that's part of the reason why we've had so much trouble cracking the Australian market in terms of cults. I think that's the only reason.
I think that's a good point. Plus, Australians are...
But it is impressive. So while we're struggling to get more people to sign up to our Patreon, these people convinced 39 people to kill themselves.
No, Jack, they convinced...
That is...
And a good portion of them they convinced to chop their own
balls
themselves. Chop your balls off, then kill yourself. And we can't even convince one person out there to give us $60,000.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey,
just think about it. So think of the sacrifices other people have been willing to make for what they believed in.
We've been doing this.
We're not asking you to castrate yourself and then
months now.
Suffocate yourself.
We haven't given you a single advertisement. We've been pure artists. We've not compromised anything that we've said. And all we want is for you to chop your balls off and send us $60,000.
Yeah. Plus minus kill yourself. That's optional.
With Nikes on. But don't kill yourself until we've finished the product development with Ben Horowitz and Yay. And then we'll sell you the Nikes and then you can kill yourself.
Yeah, then you can do it. Before then, you don't have our permission.
And remember, you must follow instructions perfectly.
Yeah, that's very important. That's really important.
Jack, do you think that the listeners like being talked to like this? Am I alienating people?
I guess we'll see how many people listen to this episode.
Hey, if you don't like the way that I'm speaking to you, you can pay us $60,000 and I will no longer speak to you like this.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, do that.
Go to onlyfans.com/Jack and Levi.
What about this part of the classroom applications where they say that you have to give up all your possessions to ascend to the next level? And that includes just cutting off all of your relationships. And they say that it's taken as a really bad sign during the trial period. So you've got a prospective student who wants to be part of Heaven's Gate. They have a trial period where they're monitored to see if they're cut out for life in Heaven's Gate. And one of the things that looks bad on your application is if you're keeping material possessions and relationships with other people in the outside world, because that might be a plan B in case Heaven's Gate doesn't work out, which shows a complete lack of faith, because Heaven's Gate will work out. You will put on the Nikes and kill yourself. That's not really in question. So to join this cult, you just have to burn all your bridges and make yourself financially dependent on the cult.
Yeah, not as bad as Jim
Jones. Because they had all of their...
Still pretty malicious.
It is... It's very malicious.
Not as bad as
malicious,
Jim Jones.
But not as bad as Jim Jones.
not as bad as Jim Jones. Credit where credit is due. Not as bad as Jim Jones.
Yeah, you're not Jim Jones.
I don't want to punch down on the Heaven's Gate cult. Not as bad as Jim Jones. Shout out.
Yeah.
To Yay.
Shout out to Heaven's Gate. Do you reckon we could get a sponsorship from Heaven's Gate? Because there are still some members.
No, man, I want some Scientology money. Shout out to Scientology.
Shout out to David Miscavige.
Yeah, Miscavige, that crazy son of a bitch.
My personal friend, David Miscavige.
My personal friend, Tom Cruise, David Miscavige.
My erotic masseuse, David Miscavige. Sees me twice a week.
David Miscarriage. Fucking idiot, Levi.
David Horsecock Miscavige.
Miscavige. I will bring you like supple virgins to slaughter if you give us $60,000. That's signed sweet Scientology money.
We can be part of the sales funnel for Scientology. I think we'd be good at that. Because what we could do is we could read books from all competing religions and say that they're really bad.
Discredit them and eviscerate them without
and every now and then
energy.
Do a Scientology episode.
And then just talk about how fucking good Scientology is.
Where we talk about how good Scientology is and how good David Miscavige is with his hands.
We should do an episode on Scientology and just the entire episode, just say how good it is. I think that'd be hilarious.
Yeah, well, it is good.
And then...
That won't be hard.
Yeah. Well, because it's true. It's easy to speak the truth.
Yeah. All my time in the Sea Org has shown me how
my
good
journalistic
Scientology
integrity compels me to tell the truth about Scientology, which is how true and good it is.
No, big shout out to David Miscavige. He's we love you.
We love you so much.
If David Miscavige signed up to our Patreon, I'd give him a much more sincere shout out.
Yeah.
If you're listening, David Miscavige, sign up to the Patreon.
I would give him a sincere shout out. If anybody signs up to our Patreon, I'll give you a sincere shout out. Thanks.
I mean, we do have people on the Patreon.
Yeah, shout out to the Patreons. You guys are fucking champions.
Yeah, thank you.
Jack will be able to afford a morsel of bread to feed himself. He says that he intermittent fasts for health reasons, but it's just because you scroungy motherfuckers don't give us any money, and he's just been real tight on his bread budget.
No, it's only because David Miscavige isn't giving us
60,000 million trillion Scientology dollars.
He's got so many Scientology dollars that he could be giving to us that he's not, and I just take that as a personal
dollary
affront.
Dues, Scientology dollary dues.
It's Scientology dollary dues.
It says dollary dues. So funny. Yeah, no, Jack's awesome. Jack's awesome. We need more money to buy stuff for the podcast, but in particular to pay Jack. So if you like this fucking podcast, give us money so we can keep on making it. And you know what? One of the things that just shout out to all of our Discord people and the Patreons. You know, Jack and I have been discussing like. Well, obviously, Jack, you can cut this part out if you think it's like not good for the podcast. But assuming that you keep it in, like a big part of like us doing this is that we want to remain authentic. So, you know, even if we were to take on advertising and stuff, we'd only be willing to take on advertising that like didn't mean that we have to compromise like our sense of humor and the things that we want to cover.
Blue chews.
And if we can do a Patreon, or like the reason why we're giving like building a little app and seeing how that goes is like. We want to try to have paths to monetization where we can basically maintain, I suppose, for lack of a better word, like artistic autonomy with this thing. So if you're down for that, like, and you don't want us to sell out, unless you want us to sell out.
No, that's
to,
a threat.
To you.
If you don't give us money, we're going to sell out so hard.
Unless we're selling out to you and
Just
you're
you
Nike,
wait.
in which case we will do whatever you want if you give us enough money to do this independently. And we will...
Because you are our ticket to the next level.
I will literally create an amateur porn sex tape.
Castrate myself.
Having sex with Kanye West in order to get back at Kim. 15 years later.
Where did this come from?
Oh, do you? It's like Kim
I was just talking
Kardashian.
about wearing Nikes and killing myself.
Nah.
You're bringing out
I'll
sex
suck
tapes.
dick. I don't care. Give us money.
No, I reckon we should sell out. I reckon we could probably. I mean, we could meet advertisers halfway. Okay, so Raid Shadow Legends.
Not as bad as
a
Jim
5-hour
Jones.
episode on
We'll
them.
meet you halfway.
But in return, Raid Shadow Legends really do need to make like. I don't even really know what the game is like. It looks like a class-based RPG. I just they could bring out like an Evola character, a Juan Posadas character, like throw nuclear bombs at enemies. Bring out.
Could they do
Ilona
like
Selka, who can,
environments or
teleport.
levels or whatever, like in parts of like I don't know, like in the Santa Fe mansion of the Heaven's Gate cult? You can walk around the Santa Fe mansion.
Elliot Rogers' apartment is like
God.
an intimate little.
Just stinks
little
of
level.
stale cum.
Yeah, full of like piss bottles and poo socks from his 36-hour WoW session.
Yuck. And used lottery tickets. Just the smell of defeat.
Yeah, the lottery tickets. Anyway, yeah. So we are collaborating with Raid Shadow Legends. They're our sponsor, and they're going to be coming out with some really really exciting NFT based.
Oh yeah, no, we will sell you motherfuckers under the bus. We will make some NFTs. We'll rug pull the shit out of you. We'll go full.
We'll rug pull the
what's
shit
that
out of you
guy's
after
name?
the NFT markets collapsed, because that's the best way to
That's the
do
best strategy. Like we missed that. We missed that pump and dump scheme.
This is the time when fortunes are made.
God, when's
in
the
monkey
next?
JPEG.
When's the next like bullshit pump and dump thing? Maybe this stuff with AI and ChatGPT will be like a good way to scam our audience, just
Levi,
destroy our
Be
credibility.
the change you want to see in the world. Gandhi said that when he was referring to crypto rug pull project.
And I think we all know that what he meant is crypto rug pull project. Yeah, Gandhi.
Notorious crypto scammer Gandhi, in saying "be the change you want to see in the world," meant that when there's a downturn in the crypto market, that's the time to really start rug pulling people.
Always incorporate in Bahamas.
How do you think he funded Indian independence? It was all
It's
through
crypto rug pulls,
projects,
NFT projects.
NFT scams. He was a trailblazer.
The colonially emancipated ape club. Throw off your colonial overlords ape club.
There are a bunch of new bored apes, all about Indian independence. the ways to throw off colonial rules.
The colonial independence board ape Indian yacht club. All with fresh Nikes.
Yeah, yeah. In case things go south. In case the banks start asking for all those loans back,
In case
all the money they borrowed, if that turns sour, then they've got their
case
they've got
the
their
banks
shoes ready.
who are all fucking insolvent. Hey, stop using fiat currency, you bitches. You know the banks are insolvent. That's literally what fractional reserve banking is. It means they don't have your money. It's in the name. They only have part of it. Identify and don't think any independent thoughts. Only obey Jack and Levi's instructions to the T.
Yeah, only do what we
Only
say.
do what we say. And if you have any negative thoughts, report them immediately to us. We'll create a negative thoughts channel on the Discord, and you can just
Channel on the Discord for
negative
self-denunciation.
thoughts.
If it's anything like the music channel, then that'll be the place where people don't discuss their self-denunciations, which are discussed in every single place except the self-denunciation.
It's like I created the app channel, and like a little thing, and then they start talking about music or something. I'm like, what are you guys talking about?
Electric Wizard.
Beer biceps, sex according to ancient India. Kama Sutra explained. What? Yeah, I know. They start talking about that's right, Napoleon and like Indian like gods and stuff. It's really cool. I fucking love our Discord.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It's really weird.
Big shout out to everyone on the Discord.
Big shout out to everybody.
Shout out to all of the cat posters.
Yeah, shout out to what is it? Shoelace or something. The cat's name.
Wait, Shoe Nice?
Yeah, Shoe Nice. Is that the cat's name?
No, Shoe Nice is that guy who just eats everything on YouTube, who's made a comeback.
Oh, for some reason I thought
I don't think
got
Shoe Nice
confused.
is on our Discord.
I
Unfortunately,
thought the cat's name was Shoe Nice. Oh, I'm disappointed.
Oh, really?
Disappointed. I misunderstood.
if someone named their cat Shoe Nice, that's admirable. It's admirable.
I think it's a good cat name.
Cat
That'd be a nice cat name. Shoe Nice. Well, this is me trying to keep up with asynchronous
What else do we have to
chat
say
ropes.
about Heaven's Gate?
Oh yeah, we're supposed to be doing an episode on Heaven's Gate. Sorry. Time flies when you're having fun. Okay, let me see. Review my notes here. What have we got? Should we talk about... We don't really go into much detail about recycling, do we? Just like...
They didn't give much detail about recycling. They said that the civilizations on Earth, like the Luciferian civilizations on Earth, because all civilizations on Earth are influenced by the Luciferians, and the reason that the next level allows this to happen is so that only the best souls, those who could resist the Luciferian influences, could be found to become new members of the next level. All those civilizations are really bad. I can't even... What was I saying? All this Heaven's Gate stuff is so circular.
Do we have anything else interesting to say about Heaven's Gate? These guys are fucking crazy. That's all I have.
Yeah, these
all I
guys
have
are...
to
Well,
say.
look, okay. If you couldn't work it out from the fact that 9 of them voluntarily had themselves castrated, including at least one person who let one of the cult's co-founders do it herself...
That's so fucking
And
cool.
then they killed themselves.
So cool. That's so cool.
If it weren't apparent from that these people were bonkers, then we'll say explicitly these people were batshit insane. These people were so far off the planet.
Not as bad as Jim Jones, though.
Not as bad as Jim Jones.
Not malicious. Or not as malicious as Jim Jones. Pretty malicious.
Not as
Pretty
malicious.
fucking malicious.
Within the context of totalizing suicide cults, they're not as bad as Jim Jones. I'd say they're middle of the road.
There's always grey. There's always shades of grey, even when it comes to suicide cults. There's always shades of grey.
Suicide UFO cult.
Are there any silver linings, though? Yes. This podcast episode was the silver lining. Those 39 people.
Yeah. You never would have got this without them.
If it weren't for their sacrifice, you wouldn't have gotten this episode where you were berated by Levi to give him money.
I also know to cut my parents off now, because now that I've worked out that at the age of 5, they could have driven me to the Heaven's Gate compound and dropped me off, and they didn't.
Really, truly negligent parents.
It's very negligent.
Oh, man. Yeah, cults is an interesting one. I just wonder if it's one of those things that if we did enough episodes on cults, we'd just see the same patterns happening again and again. Like, because
I really think we would.
because
we haven't really done
Nation
cults.
of Islam is kind of culty vibes. It's not as bad as these other ones.
That's pretty culty.
It's not suicide
Juan
cult.
Posadas did have his
Little sex cult.
borderline sex cult when he was living with a bunch of acolytes in Rome, or just outside of Rome. But that was, I mean, it was based on communism or Marxism. It was like a derivation of Marxism in a more culty direction. But this is from the ground up a cult.
Yeah, okay. So I have a suspicion. Let's do at some point this year, do another suicide cult. Maybe we should do Jim
should do another
Jones.
cult. Let's do Kenja.
Or Kenja, yeah.
Or Jim Jones, yeah.
And I reckon after 3, we'll see basically the same things happening again and again.
it'll probably be like our experience doing white nationalist stuff, how very quickly you see that it's extremely samey.
Yeah, just crazy people being crazy.
Yeah.
So, it's really interesting. So, these meme plexes, these culty death cult, they're self-constraining, right? But they never seem to fully extinguish themselves. Like, if there are people who are Heaven's Gate cult still, that's 30 years after the whole, mansion thing. And it's not totally extinguished, but also it's not like, it's not like Scientology. So there is some weird, it's like an ember that's keeping, the fire is being kept alive. T and Do are working in their magic still. So what's the balance of like, some set of crazy beliefs on the one hand, like getting people to do these extreme things, but also being self-constraining, but also not completely emulating itself? Or is it just such a short time span, a couple of decades is actually not that long in a historical time scale, in like 100 years, it'll be gone?
It's pretty hard to say. I do think making suicide a big part of your cult does limit its ability to propagate through time. That is a strong limiting factor. So at least in the context of Heaven's Gate, they really were limiting it in time very intentionally, because they said, okay, well, this comet coming near Earth,
that's it,
is they called it a boarding pass to the next level.
Very serious.
And when it goes, and when the representatives, or when at least the vehicles or bodies housing the representatives of the next level depart, then there's no ability to get at the truth of the universe, because the Luciferians will immediately start corrupting it in the same way that they corrupted Jesus' teachings. So they were quite intentionally limiting the ability of Heaven's Gate to influence people throughout time. I'd be interested to know what the remaining Heaven's Gaters think of the fact that very explicitly and in several parts of the Heaven's Gate literature, it's said that once T and Do depart, there really is no access to the truth of the universe anymore. You have to wait another 2,000 years or however long it'll be for new representatives to come to Earth. I wonder how they would come to terms with that.
Yeah, they'll have some sort of like
Presumably we're talking about a distorted form of Heaven's Gate.
Like get out of jail free, like some weird technicality in their belief system. They'll be like, no, it's fine. T and Do are actually still here. Maybe it'll be like a kind of Dalai Lama situation, Maybe they get a little kid with his little Nikes on, a little fucking plastic bag over his head, and they'll be like, pick which flavor of weird juice stuff do you like? And if the kid picks the right flavor of juice, they're like, this is tea. Take the plastic bag off your head, kid. You don't have to do it yet. Haley's comments.
They all start working at shoe shops.
they start going around and recruiting like 16-year-olds who are working on like minimum wage at like Foot Locker. Hey mate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, those are nice. They're nice Nikes.
Have you ever felt like you might be the reincarnation of a representative of the evolutionary level above human?
Do you feel as though you come from a different
pimply teenagers? Like, I reckon. I am.
Sounds like me. I always knew I was different.
It's the newest teenage subculture. Heaven's Gate 2.0.
Blows up on TikTok.
Yeah, exactly. We used to have emos and scene people. Things like that when I was a teenager. Now they just have Heaven's
Gate recruits. Yeah. That's so funny. So, I think
do you have anything else to say?
Beaten this suicided horse to death, and I think we've taken its shoes and
its horseshoes off.
Little clip clop horseshoes.
It's branded.
It's Nike branded horseshoes. And we've taken the plastic bag off its head.
39 people over a course of 17 years got so brainwashed that they thought, oh yeah, if I wear the right type of shoes, take barbiturates, tie a plastic bag around my head when this comet is near Earth, I'm going to fucking fly on a comet to another dimension. I know that we've already said it's crazy, but just... This is so bonkers.
It's hard to emphasize that these people, like, these people literally believed that's like that the model of the world they had in their head led them to believe that this was in fact the way the world worked.
So distorted.
So from the subjectivity, their subjectivity, they all thought we were the fucked ones.
Yeah. They see someone walking outside on the footpath outside their front window wearing something like Reeboks. They shake their head and think, you're not going to the next level, are you?
There must be some Nike ad out there where they've accidentally said something like, take it to the next level with Nike. We need to find that fucking ad and we need to...
Maybe that's what caused it all. It's... that T and Doe, before they were T and Doe, when their lives started falling apart, that made them realise that they were currently being inhabited by representatives of the next level. That was the ad they saw on TV. Take it to the next level. They're sitting there eating a TV dinner and start nodding. It's like, yeah, I see what you're saying.
This was after about 3 years of sitting
getcha.
in the woods, just talking to one another. and self-examining, intensely self-examining.
When they were in that isolated house in
weeks.
Texas for 6 weeks together, do you reckon they were just reciting to each other over and over again that Nike ad?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, do you remember that bit when they said, take it to the next level? And I thought, yeah,
Just
I get
watching
it.
Super Bowl ads on repeat. 6 weeks. It became
Yeah,
fixated.
exactly.
Like, think different. So they were like, do we go with Apple or Nike?
It just burned itself into their skulls.
Far out, man. These people were like on another planet, specifically the actual other planet they've ascended to. I can't relate to people like this though. They just seem so far, like it almost sounds far-fetched. Like I know that they're real people and it does suck. And it is sad, and I'm sure it's sad for like their family and stuff who lost them to this fucking crazy cult belief system shit. It sounds so bizarre, it almost doesn't sound real. I know it's real, but I'm just saying it's just such a wacky thing. You know, it's hard. It's almost hard to believe. It's so far fetched. The thing that makes me
and then the footwear dimension really adds something to it.
Put some bit of spice in there, just really throws you off. It's like I was really buying into it, and then they went like the Nikes, man. Like, come on, give me some Pumas.
The whole castration and suicide thing, I could get that.
I feel like I haven't seen them in like a decade. They're probably done. They never had a cult.
I think Adidas should be the shoe of choice for our suicide cult.
Yeah, well, when I'm at Revs at 4 a.m. in the morning, gacked out of my brain, so I really liked Adidas.
Okay. What are we doing next time? I'm going to do an episode with Ed on the Camp of the Saints.
Oh, weird. What's that about? What's the Camp of the Saints? Sounds weird. Sounds like a death cult.
No, it's white nationalist fiction.
Oh, nice. Is this an organisation that Ed's joined recently?
Oh, nice.
Is Ed a new recruit to the Camp of the Saints? Cool.
What else we got? I'm reading The Sovereign Individual.
I'm reading The Sovereign Individual as well, on the
episode.
assumption that we're doing it for the podcast. I'm pretty sure we're doing it for the podcast.
Yeah.
Also, we've got another book in there that's...
on
I haven't started reading it yet, but we've got down... Here's some of the books in our pipeline. Democracy, the God That Failed by Hopper. So there's this cluster of books that the hardcore Bitcoiners like. The Sovereign Individual is one of them. And the other one's Democracy, the God That Failed. I haven't read that one, but apparently the fucking crypto anarchists love that shit. No, sorry, not the crypto anarchists, the crypto monarchists.
Conquest of Bread
by
Kropotkin.
Do we also have something by Jung?
Got something by Jung.
I have a suspicion that names will really like that episode. We'll really like Jung.
We need to do something by Junger as well.
Yeah.
Get get a lot of requests for Junga.
Should we bring Junga forward?
Yeah, I reckon.
Maybe we should do Junga after.
I keep needing to do Spengler as well.
Oh, fuck, I don't want to do Spengler.
We can even do short episodes on each chapter
punch
of
myself in
the Decline of the West.
Yeah, like one chapter per thing. What about what if we bring Junga forward after the Sovereign Individual?
Yeah, we could do that.
And then something short as well somewhere. Should we finally bring up
Do another cult.
another cult?
Do Kenja.
Right, yeah, well, in that case, why don't we do Kenja?
The problem is...
why don't we do Sovereign Individual and then Kenja?
Yeah.
Since if we're going to...
And then Kenja.
do a good Ocker fucking Aussie cult. You call that a cult?
Yeah.
This is a cult.
Blue.
That's not a cult, that's a spoon.
That's not a cult.
I see you've played the old culty spoony game then.
See, you played Knifey Spoony before.
Anyways, we should wrap this up. We're just talking nonsense. I'm pretty sure for like the last half an hour we've barely spoken about the goddamn Heaven's Gate cult. Alright. Yeah, peace out, guys. Give us money, join the Discord, keep on listening, share us, evangelize for us, proselytize for us, spread the good word.
Shill for us.